going up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why.
I'll just hit the go
Just
live.
live. See, it's red now. It turns red when you're live.
Well, it looks like it turns red when you're live. I have no idea how any of this wizardry works. Anyway, listen up, you ignorant pigs. Put down your crack pipes and your beer bongs. It's time for the Holy Divers Show. Show number 20. And the topic today is the Battle of Marathon. Now, we can go one of two ways with this show. We can make it sleazy towards the end, or we can be these posh, historical gentlemen with our note cards. And the ones I just have to play 52 card pickup now. They didn't go out of order, thank goodness. Or we can give into hedonism. Broadcasting hedonism.
Well, we both know it's going to devolve as the show goes on, so we might as well start strong with the good stuff.
With the good stuff, all right.
To the madness.
Let me just say hi, and somebody in the chat.
There's a chat right there.
Say tell me if the audio's working. I had some. Yeah, they see you.
Yeah.
Was there a weird preview before this where I was just sort of sitting here picking my teeth and hanging out beforehand? Somebody let me know now before we go any further. Just tell me if everything's working. It's on a 30-second delay. It should be. I'm getting a little better. I've learned some tricks.
He has. It's true. He has learned some tricks. Ah, yes. Everyone's replying. Good. Yes. Excellent. Yeah. Man of War.
I'm born to live for audio is good. All right. I actually know that I can. Okay. So we can start with the map. I have a map. I actually know how to put things into.
Look at you. You have learned. You got your overlays ready to go.
I got my overlays ready to go. So where is the map? There's a map.
Right there.
Where?
Right up there. Ooh, your eyes are going, dog.
Oh, I couldn't see it. It was just so small. It should be there as soon as I do this. Bam! The Battle of Marathon.
Wow.
You got it in the Chiron right there.
I am impressed.
You are impressed. Okay, so let's kick off with the Ionian revolt, which is where this is all really starts.
Yes.
And you can't really do that unless you talk a little bit about Ionia, which I have a card for, and I'm just going to start with my card as soon as there it is. It should be right there. Where is it?
Do you need me to go?
No.
I have my history memorized.
Here we go. We're in there with this card, and so basically Ionia is a state in Turkey, and they're responsible for 400 talents annually. And it started by some guy by the name of Aristagoras. And politically, the Greeks in Ionia were not thrilled to be subject as the king to the king's power. Aristagoras went abroad to see if he could get help from Athens and Sparta, claiming common ancestry, common god worship, and common language, and basically tried to get help to rebel against the king. So that's where I'm at the first card.
Yeah, and you got to remember, so the Athenians were actually of Ion. So Ionians are actually a ethnicity.
It's the speaking.
And it's what Athenians are. Athenians are Ionians, and early on in the archaic period, Greeks, the first place they immigrated to was Ionia. Of what became.
Well, they went along the coastline and they went the path of least resistance.
Exactly. Yeah. But ethnic wise, they are similar to the Athenians, which is why they went to the Athens. But they're not Dorian. They're not Spartans.
Like the Spartans. They went to Sparta.
They did.
Cleomenes said no when he found out how far away Persia was. And it's like, we're not asking for a full army. Usually Sparta at this time frame did sell Spartans as mercenaries for generalship. It's like, okay, how many talent? 400 talents is a lot. So if they were to take some of that tribute and they really wanted to get serious, it's like, I wonder if they asked the Spartan
commanders were always in high demand, and they paid top dollar for them.
But you couldn't even get
all throughout.
You couldn't even get 300 Spartans or 400 Spartans a contingent, and he just got a flat no. He then goes up to Athens, which is claiming the common ancestry, and this would result in the wait a minute. This person gives aid to Ionia. Miletus was also founded by Athenian settlers, and Athens gets 20 ships and sends 3,600 men to this little conflict. Athens was not going to really commit much then, so much so that the coalition would fall apart before it even got off the ground. So they gave you some guys, but they didn't give you enough guys, and there was never a pitched battle fought. And along the way back, Aristagoras dies, and there are no pitched battles.
Well, and part of the problem too is the Greeks that lived in Ionia, in modern day Turkey, they were shit fighters compared to the rest of the Greeks.
Right.
The Ionian Greeks were known for being the shittiest of the Greek fighters, right? And so that was part of the problem, is that they sucked at war. And it is noted in several sources that the quality of the hoplites from Ionia were shit.
Well, they were Persian subjects, which I think would have made them a little bit more lackadaisical in their martial and athletic duties that would normally be expected of a Greek citizen of that time frame.
Yeah, they were definitely like the artistic version of the mainland Greeks.
Well, if you were, let's say you were in the kind of upper echelons of what would be considered a citizen, you would probably be sitting on a cushion. You would probably have purple clothing, which would be,
Oh yeah, if you were a gentrified landowner in mainland Greece.
No, Ionia.
Ionia.
As a Persian, you're kind of more akin to your Persian equals in the other satraps.
I think there was definitely some more blending of the cultures there that was making them a little bit more weaker than the rest of the
anyway, what happens is Athens did meddle, and the city of Sardis gets burned. The temples are destroyed and reduced to rubble. The Athenians did have a hand in this. And just before that, the Athenians were having a problem with the Spartans, which they gave an earth and water votive offering to one of the Persian, I think it was, what was his name?
Darius the First.
It was one of his subjects.
Oh, okay, one of the satraps.
One of the satrap subjects, and they ended up giving that votive offering, which made them de facto client state already. Yeah. And so after Sardis got burned and Darius the First gets wind of this, and he literally says, "Who are these Athenians that just burned down all of Sardis?" Well, they point to the place on a map, and somebody remind me to get them, because he knew that the Ionians would be getting their punishment soon enough. All of the attractive men were carried off and turned into eunuchs. All the women were reduced to harem status. He punished
typical Persian stuff.
Typical Persian stuff, and so that would lead us up to the road to Marathon. First and foremost, I'm going to mention Mardonius briefly. Mardonius, he attempts to go up towards. I don't have a map of Greece. I should have thought of that a little sooner. He attempts to go up and sail around and come down from Thrace.
Yep.
But his fleet is wrecked.
Yep.
So they retire Mardonius a little while, and they get Datis, who takes over Naxos, and that's the new staging ground for where they're going to sail up through, what do you call that place? The Icerian Sea or something like that. It's just in between those islands that goes straight up into Attica.
The whole thing's the Ionian Sea, or the
Well,
Aegean.
no, you sail past the Aegean, but once you go into Naxos, you go up, and it's just. Let me just show you a picture of Greece real quick.
It might have a different name. I'm not. I just always.
It's just a region of the Aegean. It's a region of the Aegean. Right here.
College textbook here.
So here is Naxos, somewhere in here. You're going to sail up through this channel.
Yeah.
Because Eretria is over here, and this is where Marathon is. All right, so that I apologize in advance. I was not thinking about that.
Yeah, and at this time, Thrace, it's widely believed that parts of Thrace were already clients to the Greeks.
Thrace and Macedonia were both client states at this time frame, because I believe the Macedonians had some princesses that were, because they were royalty.
Yeah.
At this time frame, they had kings, which has made them.
Well, they always had kings. They never were.
Which made them a little bit backwater compared to the rest. And they had princesses that were married into Persian satrapies and stuff like that. I don't know the full
Well,
details.
and that's the thing, with Herodotus being the primary source, the history's still fuzzy. And this is truly the beginning of history.
Yes, yes it is.
So, I mean...
We'll put that back.
But yeah, I mean...
When we need to...
It's hilarious because at this time, this is after, you know, Cyrus the Great pretty much conquered all of Asia.
Right.
But, you know, the Persians, they're like, who the fuck are these Greeks? Like, we just got done... you know, killing and capturing all of the Middle East. Like, F you guys. Like.
So, I'm going to go a little bit into Datis. He commands a fleet of 600 triremes after reducing Naxos to slavery. This would put the Persian numbers at about 120 men. You're figuring anywhere from 180 to 200 men per trireme. And what I'm thinking with this expeditionary force is that he took the best of what Persia had to offer. Because, you know, if they were going to, because during the Xerxes invasion, they elaborated to having 3,000 supply ships alone, which is 250,000 guys almost. Yeah. If they're running skeleton crews. They're running about 70 men per boat or something.
And that's the big question is, you never know how many ships for fighting ships, i.e. galleys and triremes, and how many were transport ships. We know there would have been a mixture, and transport ships would have clearly been able to hold more troops than a trireme.
And so we don't know that. So we could put them easily at 120,000 men, and if they were crack troops, they could have had their... They might not have had that many slaves, and that's just one of those things that you don't know.
Yeah.
On this first encounter here,
we'll never know. And that's why I like this book, Jonathan. So this book actually talks about the nuts and the bolts.
The nuts and the bolts
of like what the Persian army was at this time. What we know.
Well, I can show you what we got here,
and it does the same for the Greeks.
I'll just pop up the. I'll just take down the map, and I'll put up Persians.
Yeah, yeah,
and that would encompass the early alchemy Persians. You got the immortal now. Datis, they sail into Naxos, and of course Naxos offered no resistance. Everyone flees to the hills, and it's the Isarian Sea. Icrinian.
Acriani.
The Acriani Sea, sorry, and that's where they would sail up.
I'm not,
let's talk about the deposed tyrant Hippias, son of Pisicerus, who in my last Holy Diver hangout I accidentally mistake the two. I said it was Pisicerus' fault, not Hippias.
Oh, so, yeah, he's dead by now.
So you got this guy who was betrayed, and he leaves, and then he goes and seeks counsel with the Persian king. They bring him in the army, and he's gonna bring them to Marathon.
Yep.
All right. So what do you know about Hippias at this point?
Well, I mean that's all we know. I mean, he's. So this is the transitionary period in Athens,
right?
Where they're going from tyrants, autocracies
to having a
democracy. And this is like...
And since he was the tyrant, he was hoping that the Persian king could restore him to power, more or less.
Yep.
So shortly after Naxos is turned into a base, they sail up past Marathon into Eretria. The Eretrians said, we're going to try to defend our walls if we can. However, two Eretrians, well-known ones, probably got some Persian money, Euphorbus and Philagoras betrayed the town. Persians entered. They stripped the temples bare, reduced them to rubble, and they carried off all of the inhabitants as slaves.
Yeah, the Eubea, those islands.
It's Eubea.
Yeah.
But that's where it is. That's where Eretria is.
Right. Those islands are interesting because they actually think that is where hoplite warfare could have came from. That was the epicenter. And this is obviously before history, so we're talking 9th, 8th century BC Greece, but they're thinking that's where there's a strong evidence that hoplite warfare could have originated from in Greece. As just a little side note, little fun fact there.
So just bringing us going into wartime prep after what happened to Eretria, the Athenians start to prepare.
And at this point, Eretria was really diminished. Earlier in the Archaic period, it was actually a really powerful city. But by this point, they're becoming a backwater.
They're becoming a backwater.
And that's when Athens and Sparta are kind of taken, and Corinth are taking, kind of supremacy.
And because of what happened to Eretria a year prior, Athens would use the entire next year to prepare for war.
Yeah.
Hoplites, male citizens 18 to 42, they don't talk about them having a lot of training at this time. And I'm going to say BS on that. What would you say?
That Men of Bronze, that is what that book is about. And I highly recommend this book, Men of Bronze. It's a collection of essays and studies from like 10 different scholars on Greek history and Greek warfare, and it talks everything about hoplites. Everything. And it's a great book. You're going to read it.
I'm going to read it.
You're going to love that book, by the way.
Donald Kagan.
He's just the editor. Hansen has stuff in there. All the big names in Greek history have written
Men of Bronze.
And they talk about this. And we don't know. We know the Spartans definitely trained for war because they were able to execute maneuvers on the battlefield. Well, they could pivot and turn, and that.
No other army at that time frame in Greece. Moved the same way the Spartans did.
So we know the Greeks, or the Spartans rather, were Greeks who trained for war. How much the other city-states trained for war, and they get into this. It's speculated that the whole thing of the Pick 300, whether that's the Theban Sacred Band or the Spartan Guard, whatever, that actually was a common thing in Greece. And somebody makes this hypothesis in that book that a lot of the city-states had these 300 picked hoplite forces who were professional forces that formed the core of these armies, and they could either
be the officer corps.
Well, not the officer corps. They could be the front rank or the center of a citizen army. It's a hypothesis. We don't know. So we don't know how many of them were truly trained for war. We know they were equipped for war. And certain states would have had an edge over others, because if you were an Athenian hoplite, you probably fought more than a hoplite from Elis, right?
Or Corinth or something.
Well, like Corinth too was one of the largest states at this time, and their hoplites.
Corinth is also the place where they reverse engineered the first triremes in the Greek fashion.
Yeah. So if you're from a little backwater city-state and you're a hoplite, you probably don't go to war that often. It's defensive and only. But if you're Corinth or Athens or Sparta, you're probably going to war a lot, so you're going to have combat experience potentially. And that factors in.
Well, what I'm going to say is that it's like anything that you do in military, it's drilled and it's practiced. I think that most of the hoplites themselves at this time frame, they probably train maybe 1 month, one week a year for it or something like this, or they had to have some way of knowing how to move inside of the formation.
Yeah.
And where to hold their shields, because if you hold the shield over here, you can get the shield right into your face, and it's going to break your teeth.
And was that passed down from father to son? Was it city-sponsored? And those are the things we don't know. What we do know is, because we have books like Plato's Republic, they worked out a lot. And anything central to war, especially hoplite warfare, physical fitness plays a huge
That goes
key.
back into the Greek koinon. You have every Greek male citizen trying to be a Homeric hero.
And all they did was work out and do sport, so that also lent itself for them being good on the battlefield too.
Exactly. So I do believe that, isn't there a dance that what's the name of the dance?
I can't remember.
The children would learn that would teach them how to move in step.
The hoplite dance, yeah. And they would do these at festivals, and they had things that were not like specific military training, like we like, all right, we're going to go to a machine gun range and shoot X amount of rounds at X amount of targets today. They did things that were centered around their entire lifestyle that lend itself to war and helped with being proficient at war, right?
Because you would have to know what was being fluted.
Yeah.
And so
you
learn,
or
what might have been drummed.
Right.
At the same time.
So it's hard to say. We don't know how trained they were, but a lot of their lifestyle was centered around being a hoplite. We know that much. And if you were a gentrified landowner and you didn't have to work for a living, all you essentially did was work out. You worked out, you partied, and you fucked. That's literally
Is
all
that what
did.
they did?
That's all they did. They would go, they'd have symposiums and fucking go to the gymnasium. So.
All right. So is there anything you want to talk about? Because everything I have just goes right from how the Athenians were commanded by 10 generals, one for each tribe.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they always had an 11th general in the case of a tiebreaker, correct? Yep. And then I just kind of get in briefly who Miltiades was,
Miltiades,
and how he came from the Chersonese, how he got chased out.
Yeah.
Then he comes back. He's prosecuted in court. Everybody, it seems like whenever you return to Athens, you get prosecuted in court immediately.
Well, dude, man, Athens is when we do the Peloponnesian War, this will come back tenfold.
I know.
Exiling. And killing generals left and right, because that's what the Athenians did. But yeah, I mean, Miltiades was a great general, and they tried to, they take him to court essentially. So.
And so
and there's a young Themistocles at Marathon.
I have him in the notes a little bit later. They know that the Persians are coming. They know that Eretria has been taken off and carried away as slaves. And
this is pre-Athenian Navy.
This is pre-Athenian Navy.
Yep.
And what do we know that... Oh, let's go into the other screen here. Just before that, let's get another picture up. We know that this is all they have. Oh, up there, hoplites. We will delete that picture and bring up the next picture. So this is how they fought. Primarily heavy infantry. Now in Greece at the time frame, there was a common thing. Every man wanted to be like Achilles. Every single man wanted to be like Ajax of Salamis or Odysseus or Theseus, if you're from Athens, who is the patron hero for Athens. He's the founder of the city.
I bought a plate in Greece that has Athena and him on killing Serbius. And it's like done in the ancient style. It's pretty cool. You'd like.
Oh, figureware pottery.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. You brought a commemorative plate.
Yeah.
All right, so you know that they're coming, and usually how hoplite warfare works is that you have the whole Peloponnesian War could have ended in about 3 days once the Peloponnesians invaded. All they had to do in Athens was send an envoy to the Spartan king and be like, okay, I'm going to take my best 10,000 guys against your best 10,000 guys. And the Spartans, being Spartans, would have done that. They're like, okay, we'll send our allies home. We're going to meet here for a pitched battle, and it'll be just like the olden days.
But the Greeks typically try to avoid pitched battles unless it was absolutely necessary.
But it could have, if you had just gone by the common thing, the koinon that they had, which is like, we're not going to take a bunch of archers, we're not going to take a bunch of peltists, javelin men, or cavalry.
But the Athenians would never do that because the Spartans would win. They knew the Spartans, man for man.
I'm going to say that the Spartans were might not have won. You don't know, because by this time frame, Athens at this time probably had more of a paid professional class of soldiers. Mm-hmm. Which probably would have been on par with the Spartans. Maybe not as good, but it might have been almost as good.
There was parity between the Spartans and the Athenians, but I think overall, man for man, the Spartans were considered superior.
But it could have omitted an entire 26-year conflict between the two.
Clearly, the conflict goes back and forth forever. So
because if they meet, usually when two hoplite armies meet, victorious army loses about 7% casualties, and losing army loses 14. They offer quarter. They bury the dead. The winners put up a tripod, and that's how it was always done.
So this book goes through every single known battle fought by Greeks in the 5th century. In the 5th century Greece, and it analyzes as much as it can based off of written history and archaeology. And you're gonna read this one too. You're gonna like.
I gotta read.
He's not an ancient scholar. He's actually a geologist by trade, but it's still.
Who else was a Pausanias gave a geography of Greece.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of that.
But that is a good book too. But yeah, I mean, at this time, you're looking at Athens and Sparta being able to raise 10,000 men for battle each.
I'd say more than that. I'm going to say at least 30,000 men apiece.
No way, because this is only 20 years, before Plantaea, right? And so I think
at the time frame, I think that they were to take the entire male citizen population 18 to 42, they probably have closer to 50,000 each per city-state.
Well, you can read those books and see if they change your mind, but they get into that.
They get into that.
Realistically, you know, in most histories, or most historians, modern-day historians, to include your homeboy Kagan, he's going to argue that, yeah, there was probably 10 to 15,000 soldiers total, not even just hoplites, but soldiers total that Sparta and Athens could have raised, and that would include the upper age limits of the citizens as well.
All right. So let's take a minute here, answer some of the questions.
Yeah, let's read from the...
And then we'll get into the next step here and move on to...
Hey, your laptop's huge. It is a very big screen. It's true.
Yes, it's huge.
Someone's getting their popcorn. Excellent. Do the Johnny Carson trick of having his seat swap hired.
Yes,
absolutely. He is doing that. What an astute person.
How did you know that? Yeah.
Yep. He made me sit on the low chair because he
well, no, not only if he sits on the low chair, can he see over the computer screen. If I'm over there, you can't see me. I'm sorry, I'm not 6.5 feet tall.
Boney points to white computer power. And
computer power.
OHS, Service Guarantees Citizenship. Such a great book and movie.
Oh yeah, Starship Troopers. Service Guarantees Citizenship.
Yeah, and that's how and that comes from the Greeks essentially.
So after Eretria is all done and said with, the Persians are coming. Phidippides is sent to Sparta.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to say that the Spartans cuck out. The whole, we got this festival dedicated to Apollo.
Herodotus tries and makes it sound like he tries and makes the Spartans sound better.
We can't march until the next full moon.
He's just ran like fucking 200 miles.
That's the best part. It's like, can I have a glass of water? The road north leads out of Sparta. Drink your own sweat, pussy. And no army. Now, I will say that I have read. Did the Greeks believe their myths? In much the same way small children believe in Santa Claus.
They were very religious.
They were very religious. If they want to claim our Carnea festival, I'm calling kind of BS on that. At the very least, they could have sent maybe 500 hoplites, 250 of which go to the actual Attica city-state itself to help prepare the defenses.
They could have forward staged them.
They could have sent up another 250 to help act as officers in the ranks.
There was a lot of things they could have sent some men, but they didn't.
They didn't. They were like, we're going to need every available man here if the Persians are coming.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Spartans.
And they used it again.
Oh yeah.
During the Xerxes invasion.
Oh, they used it again after that too.
3 times. Oh, my Carnea festival to Apollo.
Yeah.
So, so all they can do is wait, and so let's see. Am I on the right card? I am on the right card. All right. So Phidippides comes out. They're not going to march. So. Help will come from Sparta, but we don't know. Hippias has a dream along the way that he had sex with his mother. Now, this is right from the histories. And upon his return to landing at Marathon, he starts sneezing and coughing and loses a tooth. And then the fact that he can't find a tooth, he takes it as a bad omen.
Oh, yeah.
And so this kind of gives you some more, maybe they did believe their myths a little bit more than...
Listen, Greeks and Romans were superstitious
as
fuck. All right,
yes.
Let's get that straight. And
trolls under bridges. That
don't even get me started on the Punic War and the sacred chickens, for Christ's sakes, because that's the same goddamn thing.
And he turns to his companions and he says, "This land is not ours. We shall never conquer it." When he doesn't find that tooth. All right, now this is where I go in and.
You gotta love Herodotus. Such good.
I talk about the march to Marathon. Now I'm going to get out my map again, which I bookmarked.
Just like the Lydian king Gyges, that story, classic. Herodotus, and you could read them 1,000 times and never gets old.
So right about here, somewhere around here, you have I guess that would be Boeotia. In Boeotia, just right over here, you got Plataea.
Yep.
I did not bring a map, and I'm sorry I didn't load that.
Plataea in southern Boeotia. I guess that is considered Boeotia.
They march up there, and there are 2 roads that lead to Marathon. Yep. There's an upper road along the higher part of the mountain that you're going around, and then there's a southern road. Mm-hmm. All right, so I see the march out the march to Marathon by the Athenians is a very slow, methodical military maneuver along the roads leading around Mount Penteleikon. The Athenians would be felling trees as they go, laying them by the roadsides, crisscross, to mute cavalry maneuvers upon a retreat in case they had to run.
That they knew the Persians used horses, and they were scared to death of them.
And the Plataeans going around the northwestern side, which is much more rugged, placing felled trees to mute cavalry where needed, because that would be a harder place for them to run to.
Yeah.
So if and I actually see that as being a good strategy, because if you have to move that stuff and you send slaves up to do it, well, you can put your shield down and start pitching javelins at the people trying to move the stuff, obstacles, and you're going to lose a lot of people that way.
Yep.
I think about some of the Mexican units during the Alamo siege that probably suffered some of the most heavy casualties, moving some of the stuff away from the walls so that they can bring infantrymen up next to the walls.
Well, and this just tells you that, number one, the Greeks were taking this shit serious, and number two, some historians, they like to say that at this point in Greek history, warfare was still unsophisticated, and there wasn't a lot of tactics and strategy involved, and I call bullshit. Like these people knew what they were doing. They were trying to gain every little advantage and think outside the box and make sure they were doing every little thing they could to help secure.
That's why, even though they don't talk about it during the early part of the Peloponnesian War, I would think that they would be using 9 to 12 foot spears on horseback immediately, because they would see that the fact that the guy on foot has an 8-foot spear. And if you're going to ride around to the unshielded side, you're either going to want to poke them at a distance as you ride by, or you're going to want to pitch a javelin.
And you're absolutely right. And, so when I hear people talk about Greek warfare not being sophisticated, like the Peloponnesian War was the first time they used ambushes. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. They were, let me tell you, these city-states, as they were fighting each other, just because we don't have written record of it, because this is like the beginning, they were doing all sorts of crafty,
crazy
shit
crap
to get each other.
Like the Spartans, like, oh, well, we're going to punish you because you got caught stealing.
Right.
To supplement your diet today, that kind of thing.
Yeah, from the Agoge.
And then the Greeks, upon arrival, they occupy a height at the Heracleum. Then they occupy another height overlooking the landing grounds, and they construct a palisade. And if we go back to our map here, I don't know how well the crowd will be able to see it. Oh, ¿Dónde está el map? Let's bring up the map, and we'll turn off hoplites. You can see that this line right here, and here, those were they felled the trees again to mute the usage of cavalry maneuvers.
They have a marsh on one side too,
and then they have a hill on the other side.
Yeah,
and then somewhere over here, I have actually another. I think I have a secondary map. No, I do not.
And what this also shows, this is pre-Athenian cavalry force. This also means that Athens clearly did not have enough cavalry, or did not have cavalry they think could compete with Persian cavalry. So, they're taking heavy defensive measures against cavalry.
Well, they did have the Hippodamones, but whether or not they were a military unit, the 500, the ones underneath the 500 measurement.
Well, and at this point, because this is right before the classical period, or I guess at the beginning of it, there's still debate whether Hippias actually fought on horseback, or whether they were just hoplites that arrived at the battlefield on horse, kind of like proto-dragoons. There's still debate going there. It's still debate whether Athens had true Hippias at all, operating as cavalry on the battlefield. Now, I tend to think they probably had some, just not that much.
They could have had some scout units on horseback or something like that.
And they probably didn't use them as core combatants like the Macedonians would have.
Who really changed and evolved the course of it. That's notwithstanding, they laid those trees out to each side of their formation, and they had already done all this beforehand.
Yep.
The Persians show up right where they were expected to. They offload their cavalry, and they're looking at the battlefield, and there's not much they can do. So far the plan's working. They know that they're getting reinforcements from Sparta, and so the armies do nothing but look at each other for about 3 days.
Yep.
And I just want to say something about, and the Persians weren't stupid either. They camped next to the marsh. They kept the sea to one side, and they had a pine forest to the other side. So they had like a peninsulated camp.
Yeah.
Where they could bring anything that they needed off the boats at will, and they probably threw up their own palisade around that area.
I guarantee it. At least around the boats, around the landing area. I guarantee it. Yeah.
With no side wanting to offer battle, Sparta coming. It's basically
Mexican standoff.
A Mexican standoff. So what are you going to do? Are you going to wait, or are you going to? They choose load up. They choose to bring up the upload the cavalry that they do have, and start loading up the ships to go sail around.
Mm-hmm.
When they see this, and somebody yells, "The Hippos are away!" On that morning, the Hippos are away. It's now or never. They have the vote.
Yep.
5 votes for yes, 5 votes for no. The last vote falling on the Polemarch, Callimachus.
Yep.
And it was to Callimachus, "Never in our history have we, Athenians, been in such peril as now. If we submit to the Persians, Hippias will be restored to power, and there is little doubt what misery must then ensue. But if we fight and win, then the city-state of ours may well grow to preeminence amongst all the other cities of Greece. If you ask me now, this can be, and how the decision rests with you, I will tell you, the commanders are 10 in number, and we are not agreed upon the action to take. Half of us are for battle, half of us against. If we refuse to fight, I have little doubt that the result will be bitter dissension. Our purpose will be shaken, and we shall submit to Persia. But if we fight before the rot can show itself," that's some pretty flowery wording, "before the rot can show itself in any of us, then, if God gives us fair play, we can not only fight but win. Yours is the decision, and all hangs upon you. Vote on my side. Vote, and our country will be free. Yes, the first city, the city of Greece. But if you support those who have voted against fighting, the happiness will be denied you. You will get the opposite."
Is yours a Latin translation?
No, mine's a penguin.
Who did your? No.
And they also have it up in the textbook here.
I'm sorry, who the translator is. So yeah, I'm not surprised. Yours is a little bit more. Mine's done by an old English guy. So mine.
Yours is longer.
No, mine doesn't have quite as vibrant language as yours. So and you gotta.
And I had to cold read that, by the way.
There's translational differences depending on which version of Herodotus you're reading. Right?
So the decision falls on Callimachus, and he votes to fight.
Yep.
Now this is where the Greeks would have come up out of the palisade,
yep.
which I don't think they can see my mouse.
No, they can't see your cursor.
So they come up out of the palisade.
Yep.
They form line of battle, and the Persians turn around and they start to form line of battle.
Yep.
And they said, "Well, let's close the distance." And this is the first time you ever hear of hoplites advancing at a run.
Well, now let's take a second here and talk about. Obviously, most people are pretty familiar with the Greek style and methods of fighting at this time, which are hoplites, which are guys fully armored with a round aspis shield that fight in a close pack shield wall formation. Right? The Persians, they had a bunch of things going because they are a multi-ethnic empire.
I make note of that.
And their armies are very dependent based off of region, time, and a whole host of factors. At this point, they in the early Achaemenid period, their primary form of fighting, which you had a picture of, would have been this combined formation of archers and spearmen. So the front rank or two would have made up spearmen. They had large wooden wicker leather shields called spara that they would have staked into the ground, and they used those essentially as cover, as heavy cover. And the guys in the first rank or two would be armed with spears to protect the archers, who were meant to be the firepower and do most of the fighting.
Right. So let me talk about the wicker shield. Now, a wicker shield isn't as dumb as it sounds. You can actually get a weapon stuck inside of the wicker shield and have it taken away from you.
And they used leather binds. They binded it with leather, and they would wet and shrink the leather, and it made it. I mean, I'm sure it was like steel essentially. Like and its primary mode was to stop missile fire, because the Persians were fighting other Asians who fought a lot with missiles. They hadn't really encountered heavy infantry.
And if you've ever watched Deadliest Warrior, just one thrust from the spear like that is equivalent to falling out of a second-story building on top of the spear. For some reason, the dory spear is you have the butt spike which balances it, and just one average thrust from somebody who isn't trained is going to put a lot of force into that, what is it called? What's the point of there's a term for it, of penetration or something like that, or thrust. You're going to have a lot of thrust.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of kinetic energy going.
That's the one.
And here's the thing: where the spar shield's good, yes, but at the end of the day, it was a material that wasn't as durable as the popular bronze-faced shields of the Greeks. Not even close. Like those Aspa shields were heavy-duty shields, solid wood, usually solid planks of wood with a bronze facing, right? So,
And they proved on Deadliest Warrior again that bronze is a very malleable armor. It bends before you puncture it. So to match the line that you can see on the map there, they spread their center thin. All right, and seeing this, Datis matches his line to match what the Greeks have, or try to overextend it to maybe envelop them a little bit. But again, they've got those felled trees to their right and left flank. So they're already. This was a well thought out methodical plan. We'll wait for the Spartans, and if we don't wait for the Spartans, we're going to be able to fight them anyway with our heavy infantry, which is all that we have. Which, like I mentioned in the HD's hangout, hoplites are not a bad troop choice. The only problem you have with the hoplites themselves is that they cannot chase you. Now, I've heard stories on...
and your flanks.
And your flanks.
Which is why they did what they did. It's why they chose that ground and why they had the trees, and because they were worried about their flanks. Because hoplites can't turn. Those formations don't turn unless you're the Spartans. So
that's true.
If troops get on your flank or in your rear, you're toast. And they knew that, so they were very cautious of that.
So Datis, he still has a lot of men. I don't know how many, he can still have 55, 60,000 men on the field. He's like, turn tail, form line of battle, let's get into this. Let's see if I have the weight of numbers, let's see what happens.
And that's the big unknown. How many more numbers did the Persians actually have? They think there was probably more parity in reality, but clearly there was more Persians than Greeks, because the Persians were confident that they had the number advantage and pressed home.
They pressed home, and so now we just have to mute the shooting. They run at the enemy at full speed, which is about a mile or so, and again the arrows shot at you by the Persians are a far cry from the usage of the Mongol compound or the English longbow.
No, these are not English longbows, not even close.
And so if you keep your shield up, you might get lucky, or you might be unlucky. I'm sure there were a few unlucky hoplites that might have taken an arrow to the neck and they fell flat on the beach and died.
Probably what happened more was extremity wounds was probably more likely, which could or could not incapacitate a soldier. You might take an arrow to the foot, and with the adrenaline going, you still might be good to fight, and you still might just keep going. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I've seen plenty of people shot in the extremities, and they're like, the heat of battle, they're like, whatever.
And they're still good to go, yes. After a long and perhaps planned maneuver, the Greek center gives way. Now, I talk about this in the HT's Hangout video just briefly because somebody didn't know anything about Marathon. I forgot who it was. And I talk about this briefly. So, the Athenians on one wing and the Plataeans on the other, they are able to break the opponents in front of them. And if you're looking at the map, you have you have two wings, and then you have the thin center. So you have some elasticity. So at some point there could have been something different fluted, there could have been something drummed, or the Persians might have actually broken through the center at the same time that the wings of the Persians were put to flight.
This is the biggest what if of the battle, by the way, because this goes back to a lot of people think at this time that the Greeks weren't executing complicated maneuvers like that. It wasn't until Iphicrates and the Theban generals in the 4th century that you start to see these complicated battlefield maneuvers. Once again, I call bullshit. I think it's completely plausible that the Athenians here weakened their center or had their center collapse on purpose to draw Persians in. 100%.
Now, and again, let's say those guys run, they know their way around the marsh and where to go.
They're from there.
They're from there. They know where to go. And that's a huge factor there. But what this does denote, that once the Persian flanks are defeated, and then the wings of the Greek army on the left and the right flank are able to get back in line of battle and then go towards the flanks of the Persian battle, what you have here is a pincer's maneuver 275 years almost before the Battle of Cannae under Hannibal, and then 2,000 years and some change, like almost 2,300 years before Austerlitz.
Yeah, and I mean, this once again, this shows the Persian army at the time, and the Spartan units were actually the cream of the Persian army. So the professional satrapal forces that each satrap would have maintained, I guess, as a semi-permanent basis, would have been these Sparabara units. So these are like kind of the professional force of the Persian army, but they are a glass cannon. Yeah. Once they're spent, they're spent.
And so it's, again, like I said, maybe Davis only did have 120 men, but let's say he brought the core crop of the Mede into Greece to invade it. The most disciplined guys that they had.
I think he would have had the cream. Maybe not the Immortals probably weren't there because they were usually only there in the presence of the Great King. But I guarantee you, as far as the rest of the forces, they were the better forces that the Persians could muster. Yeah. They weren't scraping the barrel.
They weren't scraping the barrel. These men were probably not slaves.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because, whereas you go to the Xerxes invasion, yes, this guy's traveling everything.
He literally brings everything.
He literally brings everything. So, what do you think about that? Just the pincer's maneuver itself, 2,000 years before Austerlitz.
So I think, and this was very, very, not Sharonea, but, oh hell. The battle where the Thebans defeat the... Leuctra, sorry. This is very Leuctra-esque in nature, and I think it was done intentionally. At least I like to believe. I don't have any evidence to say it, but I think this was done intentionally. I think the Greeks knew that once the Persian formation breaks,
if you have a formation of soldiers in line of battle, the rules are kind of generically the same. If you get, even for legionaries, if you get outflanked on one side and you have a heavier weight against you on the outflanked side, you're going to give ground. And if you don't give ground, you're either going to lose a lot of people or you're going to have crowd crush.
Well, yes, there is the crowd aspect of it too. And the Men of Bronze, they go into detail about that as well. I think a lot of hoopla has been made that hoplites couldn't fight individually, and they deal with this thesis in that book. I think a hoplite has a high potential to be a good individual fighter, meaning if their formation, if the hoplite shield wall is broken, if the phalanx is broken, I think the Greek hoplite still has a very good chance of fighting as an individual, especially against Persians. Because they have defensive equipment out the ass.
Now this is one of the things that this caused controversy in Deadliest Warrior, where they talk about the samurai losing to the Spartan. What a lot of people, the one thing that they never mentioned, about that entire fight is that the shield is a powerful weapon, and in swordsmanship, real life swordsmanship, there are only 9 targets. If you have a helmet and a shield, you have just denied your opponent 6 of those targets.
And now you got bronze greaves, which is already hard. Your shins are already a really hard target for a sword anyways, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, and not to mention the Persian spear is shorter than the dory.
It's a 6-foot spear, not an 8-foot spear.
So they already they have advantage in offensive and defensive equipment.
So when you come to grips, it's not really the guys who are holding the line up front that you got to worry about, who are just thrusting with everything that they got at the guy in front of them. It's the guys in the second and third rank who are actually probably able to come up and stab a guy in the face. And at that time frame, you don't need to necessarily kill the guy. If he gets hit in the face and he starts bleeding, he falls to the ground, if he's going to get stepped on, he's going to get hurt.
You just got to take him out of the fight just long enough to affect the battle, and you're absolutely
and
right.
That's any kind of warfare.
Yep.
That's why the Germans had the what do you call it, the spike on their helmet.
Nickelhaube?
Yeah, originally that's to deflect the cavalry saber.
Oh yes. Okay, I didn't know where you were.
Because it's never like they depicted in the movies. If a guy rides up to you on horseback, he's going to hit you with a flail in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Or he's going to whip you in the face real quick. He's not going to drive hard and have his sword etched into a guy and lose his sword.
Well, and that's also why in the 18th and 17th centuries, a lot of cavalry still used lances too, because at that period, lances were still pretty damn effective compared to sabers.
They're going to ride by and they're going to whip you in the face. Yeah. And that's basically. So before we get into the route portion of this, let's answer some of the questions from the audience
here.
And
totally agree with the Persians being a multi-ethnic force. Yeah, they were definitely multi-ethnic. How multi-ethnic the marathon force they put up is up for debate. It probably was more of the
Mede troops.
Yeah, it was probably a more congruent force made up of Medes, Medes. Agreed, terminal, yeah.
What's this one saying?
Agreed. It took a general of Hannibal Alexander's level genius to wield that sort of force effectively. Moreover, immortals were extremely overrated. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. You know, the Persians, a lot of people shit on the Persians because the Greeks essentially just run over them. But you got to remember, up until this point, it's the first time they really fight Greeks.
Right.
And up to this point, they're fighting other barbarians. And in that context, the Persian army is very effective.
Warding off a naked savage in Ethiopia, or
fighting Indians, or fighting Bactrians, fighting any of those far-flung breaches of the Achaemenid Empire, they're extremely effective.
They're extremely effective.
But against heavily men in bronze, dudes straight up covered in bronze, not so effective. Who work out all day, who all they do is essentially go to the gym all day, not that effective.
Why would anyone want to be weak? You know, it goes back to... There were, in Xenophon, they talk about some of the Persian slaves that they had taken prisoner, and they basically just take the clothes off of their back because they were looking at them like, you guys are a bunch of soy boys.
Yeah.
I can't make any money off you if I send you to the mines. I'm going to get laughed at, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's it. Yeah. Drop the shield, and the thighs are targets. Yeah.
The thighs are targets, definitely.
The thighs are targets. And
the feet are targets.
And this is...
the crotch and the neck are
I went to Greece, and, I was looking at a lot of the grave goods and, at the museums.
Did you get to see any of Philip's shields?
Oh, I went to Philip's grave. Yeah, went to Philip's grave.
Did you know
I saw all of his stuff.
We did not know how hoplons were made until we got to see Philip's shields?
Yeah, and he had a full iron cuirass there, too.
Full iron, cool.
Yeah, full iron with some gold decoration in it. But yeah, what was interesting is that a lot of the graves from like 8th and 7th century, and even 6th century, there were still thigh guards. They still had bronze thigh guards. Now they go away fast, and after like 550, you don't see them.
Right.
But they still had thigh guards, so it was clearly they were trying to balance mobility and protection. Mobility and protection. They could have still had thigh guards during this time. We don't know for sure because this is kind of a transitional phase. But yeah, the thighs were definitely a weak point, and they knew it, which is why they had those big ass shields. So, what kind of logistics what kind of logistics does the Persian force bring with them? Horses, food, etc. So yeah, logistical footprint. We should talk about this. The Greeks, they don't have to worry about that. They're on home ground.
They're on home ground.
It's only 20 miles back to Athens. They're good
so
to
they
go.
can get resupplied, and they know that the Spartans will be coming with supplies and men.
Yep.
And to the Spartans' credit, I'll mention this a little early. They did make it up to Marathon.
They brought like
in
their
3 days.
full army too. They brought
2,000 men.
Oh, was it just 2,000?
Just 2,000
Okay.
Spartans showed up, but they got there in 3 days, which is
Well, because once again, all they did was worked out, so they could beat feet up there.
But so you have this.
The Persians were very reliant on their navy, and you see this throughout the entire Greco Persian War.
Yes.
If they didn't have their navy, they can't have a land campaign because they can't supply the land.
And that's why they took over Naxos to use that as a staging
They had to have
ground.
navy bases.
And
to
the
stage
Naxans offered no resistance. They just basically fled to the hills and
So it's-
lived in caves.
And that's why Salamis is such a big deal, because if you neuter the Persian navy, there's no ground invasion.
You know, there was. You can get into Salamis just a little bit there. The Persian navy, you know, at that time frame, could have had 3,000 ships in it. Only 500 of those fully manned, maybe for the actual fight, and then everything else running on skeleton crews, going back and forth to the islands, bringing food.
Well, the problem is too, the Persians are Iranian. They're landlocked, essentially. They have to rely on the Phoenicians and the Ionian Greeks to be their sailors. And there's problems in that too, because the Ionian Greeks weren't always reliable.
No,
right?
They would sometimes. I think during Salamis, some of the Greeks that were rowers in the Persian fleet stopped rowing.
Yeah, and you got to deal with that. And so
relying on the fact that they knew how to swim once they got rammed.
Yep. Right? Because the Greeks were all sea people,
so
minus the Spartans.
That's how you would probably handle the logistics from the Persians' end, whereas you can bring up food and supply on carts 20 miles along the one, and that's probably why they felled the trees along the road. Let's say they take the easy road, which is the southwestern road, the southeastern road, down from Marathon, and you go along the easier path. Well, you're taking your carts and your supplies up there. You're not going to have much trouble from the Persians, because if they want to do anything, they have to get all those trees that you felled.
Forever. You're giving yourself time. You're giving yourself time. If you lose the battle and you need to regroup, you're giving yourself time to do so.
Yes.
Because it's going to take, because number one, the Persians, because of the logistical train, they're going to move slower. And number two, you're leaving that stuff behind to slow them even more. So yeah, it was a good plan. I mean, they did it right. Now, they didn't need it. They ended up winning the battle, but it was definitely a good contingency. 100%.
Well, yes, it was a really good contingency plan that they had. So what happens next is a rout. Persians, now engaged to the right and left flank, are now forced to run inland or back to the ships. Those who ran inland ran into a marsh and got cut down. Persians fleeing to the ships had their arms cut off as they scrambled aboard. The Greeks capture 7 Persian vessels, and they dedicate those vessels to the gods. And then they kill about 6,400 Persians.
Mm-hmm. And this is also why people think there's probably only 10,000, 15,000 Persians, because if there was like 100,000, more would have died.
More would have died, or they had gotten above. I mean, there could have been 100,000, but like, what was deployed? Versus what's on the ship?
And we don't know how many had already just embarked back onto the boats, right?
And then the Greeks lose 192. Do you want to talk anything about the war dead, or?
No, they bury their war dead. We actually find the graves, so and archaeologists have found the Athenian grave at Marathon. And it's pretty interesting. There's grave goods in there. There's sturgils and spearheads now. All sorts of cool stuff in there. And I saw some of that stuff when I was in Greece, which was really cool.
Did you see the helmet of Miltiades?
I did see Miltiades.
You got to see the helmet, huh?
I got to see the helmet. Let's see if we got I have a picture of it.
You never sent. I asked for pictures.
Hey, it's all on my camera. It's all on my camera.
When he went to Greece, I asked for pictures. I got shit.
I'll bring my camera with me next time.
Can you see the inscription on there, or?
Yeah.
Oh, it's right there on the side of it.
Yeah, it's right on the side of it.
And so those are votive offerings to the gods. And so some of the prayers that would be said, they go around with the Greeks. If you ever read Xenophon, it's the word of the day. Before they would go into battle, they would pray to Zeus, Savior, and Hercules, leader. They did believe in these gods. Hercules being a very, very important god to the Hoplites, because it was always to Hercules' leader who would get the final sacrifice.
Well, Hercules is the Roman. You mean Heracles?
Well, I always call him Hercules.
It's Heracles.
Kevin Serbo, man. Kevin Serbo.
Hercules is the Latinized version of Heracles, but I mean Heracles was a principal god, which is peculiar considering he's a demigod. He's not of the Olympian.
Of the Olympian bloodline per se, but
they worshipped him almost as if he was a full.
Well, they would inscribe the name Hercules on top of their houses.
Well, there's more statues of Hercules than like fucking anything else in antiquity. I mean, there's just so many statues of Hercules, and that's in Italy and Greece. Whenever I went to Italy and Greece, just fucking Heracles everywhere.
Hercules everywhere, huh?
Everywhere, with his balls hanging out, holding a club.
Whole balls, I know. I never picture him that way. So to me, it's always just Kevin Serbo with his perfect hair, just walking around. Yeah, that's right. I was born at 10. You weren't. That's why, And I was smart enough, unlike that Lorenzo Lamas the Renegade, not to get 5 divorces on my record. Yep. So, now this is upon this route, a shield flash. Which I do not buy into because one, a shield can't be used for heliography at all by some treacherous Greeks. You had to have a bronze plate for this because the convex shape of the hoplite does not reflect light. So they had some way to denote. They had some traders in the Greek ranks that basically flashed a signal to the Persian fleet. Let's go to Plan B. Sail around the Sunium. And they think it was members of the Alcmeonidae family. Yeah. But we don't really know. And
yeah.
And so with what did I write there? With only a small
with that
and with only a small force back at home to defend the walls, you have to get back. So they send the runner back 26.2 miles.
Phidippides again.
Now, Phidippides is remembered for the wrong run. They don't know if that was Phidippides. They said Phidippides was nowhere near the battle. Well, but it's funner to think that it could have been Phidippides.
That's debated. I like to believe it was Phidippides and he dies as soon as he gets to Athens.
Upon getting to Athens, now if I did not make this run. So Yanis Kouros in 1986, and so this is doable. Made the 156-mile run in 21 hours, 57 minutes, and 37 seconds. One way. Now we don't know what Phidippides' time frame would have been. He probably could have had 2 hours off of that.
Man, this dude was who knows? This dude was a runner of ultra runners.
He was a member of the Hemerodromi, and their entire job was to deliver instant messages.
This guy was probably the best runner in Athens. Like, let's just be real. This was the most important thing to happen to that city ever. Chances are they're like, who's our fastest motherfucker? Get him out there.
And then the Spartans told me to drink my own sweat like I was some kind of pussy. Like, we need help.
I just ran 150 miles.
150 miles. So, a runner, he gets there. And so I think what they did was they sent their fastest hoplite back. Whether or not he ran in full armor, we don't know.
Fuck no, he did not. Are you kidding me? They stripped he was running butt-ass naked.
He was running naked. I like to think that there was no time for him to get out of it. And he dropped shield, put a sword on, grabbed some water, and he
probably had a goat skin with some water, and he beat the fuck feet back to Athens. He dropped his shit right there.
Upon reaching Athens, he collapses, and with these words, he died. Joy to you, we won. And after the full moon, Spartans come with 2,000 men in 3 days.
Yeah, and
like our festival,
and get to see the aftermath.
Is the Battle of Marathon.
And I like how in Herodotus, the Spartans are all sad because they didn't get to partake in the glory. Like, motherfuckers, y'all could have been there. Y'all chose not to be. Y'all knew what you were doing.
You all knew what you were doing. You did nothing.
You did nothing.
And they wanted to go up, and they were so excited they wanted to at least see what a Persian looked like.
And that is one of the coolest things I also saw in Greece. I went to the necropolis there, and there is a tombstone you can view. I ran that marathon. Like, it was such a huge deal to the Athenians that, 30, 40 years later when these dudes were dying, what did they put on their funerary stone? I ran at Marathon. I was at Marathon.
I was at Marathon. Aeschylus was at Marathon. Yeah, so...
And a young Themistocles.
A young Themistocles also would fight at Marathon, too.
So, yeah, that's a good little history segment. We should talk about the game of Marathon.
The game of Marathon. Now we're going to need a marsh, and we're going to need a little bit of blue felt to denote where the sea is.
So I think we should get the cigar box Mediterranean beach mat and the accompanying grass mat. I'm going to buy triremes to put on it for decoration.
Triremes.
I'm going to use some of that money you like to talk about, some of that NG money.
Some of that Northrop Grumman money.
And yeah, and we're going to do it right, but marshes. We need to figure out a solution for marshes.
Well, I have one marsh.
Well, we need enough marsh. Is that enough marsh, or are we going to have to do some more?
I think we're going to need a second marsh.
I think so too. Here. I know your marsh, and it's a good looking marsh, but I think we need another larger one.
I think we'll need another marsh.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true there.
Yeah, I do like your marsh. It's a good
Why don't you just get a palisade instead? It's a good looking marsh.
I would probably build the palisade.
I don't think we'd have time. There are 3D printed palisades.
I'm not so worried about the palisade because they leave that fast. We may not even have the palisade in the battle.
Yeah.
Essentially, we're going to have from the 1 mile run to where they clash. That's going to be it. So we need the marsh. We need the beach.
We need the marsh.
So that way we can have the route to the beach, and that's it. And we can see, was this a fluke in history, or will the Persians
Well,
win?
you've already said it was a well thought out plan on behalf of the
It was. I have a feeling that the battle we fight is going to repeat history. And we're going to use the Warhammer Ancient Battle system with the amended rules that we picked from Fantasy, because I want the Greeks to have a couple good badass heroes. I want Miltiades to be like a super fucking Chad.
They were all super Chads.
Yeah, he's gonna be like King Chad. Then I want a young Themistocles to be like a minor hero in there. And the Persians don't get no heroes, but they're gonna have numbers.
Well, let's talk briefly about Datus. I don't think that if you already had Mardonius, who would later come back into play. I think that if he was selected by the king to go over there with the crack
we could have Mardonius potentially be a hero-ish. He's going to be the commander
or something. But no, I was talking about Datus himself. He's
not known for doing anything in the battle, so I can't. I think we're going to give the Greeks the heroes. The Persians are going to have the numbers. They're going to have the numbers.
All right.
But I think we're going to give the Greeks
you want to use
heroes.
You don't want to use the Hail Caesar rules.
No, we're using WAB.
You want to use WAB.
We're using WAB, and I'm getting the army list from the Warhammer Ancient Battles forum Facebook group. They put out a supplement with army list for this period. That is what we're using.
All right. So
Yeah, and then I think it's going to be about 200 miniatures on each side. So I'd like to do this on the expanded table.
I just want to see something real quick here. Oh my goodness!
What?
Oh, we've been going for an hour and 13 minutes. So let's go to the let's defer to the audience again here.
Yeah.
I hope you got some good historical tidbits out of this. I had some other things planned, but I could do all kinds of things. Let's load up a minor note real fast in OBS here. Let me get rid of the map. Let's lighten the mood a little bit. Hold on.
Yeah, we're transitioning. So yeah, that's going to be our first battle through history. And then I think then, here's the bigger question. I think we know how
let's relax a little bit.
Nice.
So put that up there. Look at that. Isn't that great? Doesn't that just warm your heart?
It's like a cartoon character.
That is not a cartoon character. That's a model from the 90s. It's a lot better than what we have now.
We should see what she looks like today.
Who cares? Who cares? Doesn't that just warm your heart? No?
Oh my god, yeah.
You don't want to...
You're a fan of the giant fake tits on a stick.
There's nothing wrong with tits on a stick. You see, that's the problem, is you got this guy, oh, yeah, those are fake. Fuck yeah! And you want to bury my face in that chest and live there forever. You know?
I'm afraid it's like a water balloon. It's going to pop on my face.
I'll get something that's more your speed, okay?
No, don't you do it. No.
Don't I do it?
Don't do it. I already know what you're going to do. You already had your fat porn on here when I walked in the damn room.
Oh, come on now. I didn't have any porn on.
Yeah, you're looking at fucking fat chicks. I don't need to see that shit.
Hold on. Let's lighten the mood just a little bit more.
I knew it was coming.
We'll do this one. Come on. Oh, come on. There you go.
Are you happy? Is this what you wanted?
I just wanted to see your reaction to that. I didn't get it right at the beginning, which is I was hoping to do.
He spoiled it because he had this up.
It was an accident. I forgot. I planned out almost every detail.
So he already spoiled it. Good lord. How long did you search for these images?
2 minutes. Tops.
All
you have to do is type in big fat black
I hope
lady.
so for your mental sanity.
And then click over to images and you will be accosted.
Oh, good lord.
Let's lighten the mood. I think we need a refresher after that.
I don't need
We need a refresher after that. Let's just go to Hitomi K-Cups over there. Just say some. Oh, pie, necessity, kudasai.
I think this is Photoshop.
That is not Photoshop. That is all real. There you go.
That is not all real. That is...
Nani desu ka?
Those are water balloons under there.
No, that is real. Those are not water balloons.
Fucking bullshit.
I know what you want. Hitomi K-Cups.
Water balloons. But anyways, the bigger question is Thermopylae. You said you want to do Thermopylae.
We have to do Thermopylae.
Well, then we need... if we're going to do the hot gates, we need the hot gates.
We need the hot gates.
And that is.
I can get us some terrain. I got the big old Castle Grayskull there.
Okay.
We'll put it up on one side of the board, and when I can actually.
We need a pass.
We'll make a pass.
Okay.
All right.
I'm leaving that is up to you. I'm leaving that in your ballpark.
All right.
Because I just want to see these fucking elite Spartans just crash into these fucking Persians and cut them all down.
Well, who doesn't want to see that? That is some guy shit right there.
I'm hoping
the whole reason anybody ever watched 300, despite it being so mind-numbingly and historically inaccurate.
It could have been so much better.
At least put them in bronze armor. But why are they wearing man thongs in the battle?
With airbrushed abs. Hey, and you know what's hilarious about it? I watched that movie, and then the first time I watched it, I was like, I knew it was going to be a shit movie because they had the king going through the Agoge. And I knew right then and there, I was like, Spartan kings didn't go to the Agoge.
They didn't?
Nope, they didn't. So I knew the movie.
Last time I checked, Agesilaus went through the Agoge with his bad foot.
Spartan kings did not go through the Agoge.
Agesilaus did, though.
Agesilaus did not go through the Agoge. None of them went through the Agoge.
Okay, we'll find out.
Spartan kings did not go through the Agoge.
All right.
I'm like 90%.
Pretty sure Agesilaus did. I'm pretty sure he did. Okay.
How will you make the Persian ships? I am buying them because there are a few companies out there that make them. Agema Miniatures doesn't make a trireme, but they make a transport ship.
Oh.
And then also Old Glory makes triremes as well.
I do not have a secret porn photo folder. Why would anybody have porn on their?
He does, and it's full of fat chicks.
No. I will tell you something that I've said in other prior broadcasts. I don't know why anybody is following girls on OnlyFans when porn is free. Why would you throw money to a woman on OnlyFans when there is 77 years of pornography uploaded onto the internet? It's uploaded onto the internet and it's free.
All I know is Holy Diver looks at land manatees.
I do not look at land manatees. I just want... you want to do a real fat watch? Do we have time?
No, we're not doing a fat watch.
You don't want me to switch over to fat watch and let everybody watch the Adidas video that
we should transition. I think this is our first battle of history. We're going to go through...
We need to be mature, wargaming adults like over at Little Wars TV.
No, we don't need to do that. But for our next... I think that covers... Marathon, that's a good primer. We're going to do the battle next month. So
I don't know if I'm gonna live stream the game. I might, however, hire a camera bitch.
Oh,
but I don't have to.
Very fancy. Now, did you want to do it here on the expanded tables here, or did you want to go to the?
Why would I go to? Why would I go there? I can do it on the expanded tables here. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get some things to elevate this table.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. We should definitely do the big table though, because this is a big battle. No one does big battles.
Nobody does big battles,
especially in the States.
Vonketteringham does big battles.
He does. Yeah. There's a few guys in the UK that do the big battles.
You know what they don't do in the UK? Air conditioner.
Too soon.
Burn.
Too soon.
It's not my fault I didn't buy a swamp cooler. I just figured we had to live in the heat. Oh no, it's too hot.
Too soon, buddy.
Pepe Pig, it's time. Have you seen that? I'll give Colbert credit for that one. Oh, let's go get some eggs. See?
Holy Diver would kill someone at the gaming store. Well, it's funny you say that, White Computer Power, because aren't you banned from Friday nights?
Yes, I am banned from Friday nights.
As a Warhammer?
For no damn reason at all, but I still have a feeling that there are people still harboring a decade-old hatred of me because for 2 years in a row I won every single fantasy tournament with greenskins.
Our local game store is very good
at being a bunch of passive-aggressive.
But there are some fucking weirdos that go to that place.
Yes, there are some weirdos.
Fuck, there's some weirdos.
And they favor the weirdos over the whales. And, you know, with the money I haven't spent in game stores, I've put into a stock portfolio, and I'm doing pretty well.
Bullshit, I see all your Warhammer bullshit back there. You got like $5,000.
That's different.
Fucking Warhammer shit.
I don't have $5,000.
Fucking Mr. fucking buy stock and
you're gonna hurt our algorithmic chances, Mr. F-bomb.
He said the UK impression's spot on.
It is spot on. You see, I live in Lower Umpton. Didn't you know that? And in Lower Umpton, no building has AC. No one's ass is dry right now.
Yeah, where we live, it's hot as fuck. So
where we live, I have the AC going. We have this thing that we've developed here in America called climate control.
And like everybody in the States has AC except for like if you live in like North Dakota. Like,
where it's like too cold, or certain parts of Montana.
Cold. Yeah, Montana, North Dakota. Fucking. All right, topic number 2. Go to topic number 2.
I don't have it. That was Fat Watch.
That was Fat Watch. Okay. I already know what the next topic is.
All right, you want to go to topic number 2? I'm just going to let you react to this commercial.
Okay.
All right, and that's going to turn on screen capture. All right, so I'm just going to minimize that. Oh, hold on. I don't think it'll do it live. Will it do it live?
Should.
Oh, I didn't turn it on.
You didn't turn it on.
Now screen capture is on. I'll minimize out of there. We go over to Impossible. I'm just going to let you watch this commercial from Adidas.
Oh, good God.
And let you react to it.
Well, I watched something, it wasn't Adidas.
Oh, I think I'm blind, man.
I watched something that was just like this, but it wasn't, it was Gatorade.
It was Gatorade.
Same exact thing.
You mean same?
It was a
aberrant African hippo. Did you see her tongue sticking out there?
Yeah, it was a super obese person being like, "I'm an athlete," and I'm like, "No, you're not, bitch. You're a fucking land manatee."
Okay, I thought I'd get a more aberrant rouse out of this guy. You're not doing it right.
You've already showed. This is like the fat chick you've showed me today.
No, it's the second. But I wanted to let
whatever. I saw your collection of fat chicks.
No, there was just one.
I will not let you lie to the people, Holy Diver.
I had images up and I forgot to close it.
He had a collection of fat chicks on his computer.
No, I didn't. I also forgot to upload the map to Marathon. All right, so I guess we can minimize out of that, and that was topic number 2.
Oh my God, yeah, I don't know what is with these corporations being like body positive. It's like, I'm sorry, you can't be an athlete.
Well, what's funny at the end of some of these old Navy commercials.
Like, I get it, like just fucking have Usain Bolt in your commercials, or some NFL dude. Like, we don't need land manatees. Have some real athletes on there, like. for fuck's sake, man. Like, good God.
I want to see Michael Jordan Gatorade commercials again more than ever now. Those are the shit.
Those were such good commercials. Florida has a literal statue to the inventor of AC. Yeah.
To the inventor of the AC.
Florida is like a swampy hell on earth. I lived there for like 7 years.
What brought you to Florida?
My dad was stationed there.
Oh.
Yeah. Lived in Orange County and Manatee County for like 7-8 years. Pretty much all of elementary school, except for kindergarten, which I spent in Louisiana, even more of a swamp. So, yeah.
That's what a bayou is.
Oh, yeah. Every game store attracts neckbeards. Ain't that the fucking truth? Hey, DW, I saw you put a comment for those Germans on my channel, but when I go to click on it, it's not there.
Let me address this now. Okay, if you leave a comment on my video, there are some words you can't use. You can't say Mexican in the comment section anymore.
What the fuck?
But you can say the country Niger for some reason.
Okay.
DW,
they're yours. I saw the message.
My messages get deleted all the time because somebody said gay person.
Yeah, they're yours. I saw it, but we got to find a way to. I'll send you my email somehow.
All right. So this is the 20th episode, so I don't mind going into overtime because
Let's go into a little bit of overtime. There's one topic I wanted to talk about. You already know what it is.
I know. I brought it up right here. I guess I could put back up on the screen cap there. So we can go to Fat Watch Time again, but we're not going to watch the same window. And I've already got it to where it needs to be in the video. And you wanted to talk about the Miniac. Is he even worth talking about?
He is not worth talking about, but the situation in the company is worth. Listen, I know you are a connoisseur of GW.
I am not a connoisseur.
I know.
My friend Anthony, my buddy.
Pinky up, please. Pinky
my
up.
friend Anthony is a connoisseur of GW. He loves the shit out of his stories, and that's why he plays.
Tell the people, give a synopsis for the people who may not know.
Well, okay, so you told me the Miniac got kicked out of GW for showing a photo that he shouldn't show. I think the crowd can hear it, and we'll just play part of the video right here.
Because honestly, it's a little painful to relive, so here it is.
In
the Horus Heresy demo room, we were allowed to film, but we couldn't publish that until an embargo.
What is up with his problem glasses?
I was switching in between my camera and my phone, and in the excitement of the event, posted some models to my Instagram story that I
join us in
have
2022 with contact lenses, please, dude.
The models were some Space Marines and a big demon. In my head, I thought we had already seen these Space Marines in the boxed set of previously announced at Adepticon, but these models had different loadouts than those ones. At the time, it hadn't even occurred to me how what I was filming on my phone was different than what was on my camera. My GW rep caught it and politely asked me to remove them from the story. I absolutely did. I didn't realize what I had done.
I do like the.
He looks like his GW had shoved a dildo up his ass.
They told me that my post had resulted in a leak. That
was very sad.
Okay, so he's banned from the content creator program. So what does this mean?
Well, he got kicked out of GW Con that they put on for the creators.
Okay, is it really for the creators though?
Well, it was for GW, but they were using the creators. It was supposed to be a mutual thing. Like the creators were supposed to get to see all these miniatures first. They were supposed to be able to release content at an approved date, but it was a marketing ploy for GW. And GW just essentially took a shit on Miniac, who's done nothing
but promote and
GW off.
All right, yeah. That aside, okay. So one of the things that GW has gotten away from is we're not paying royalties to Gab Thorpe. We're not paying royalties to Alessio Cavator. We're not paying royalties to Matt Ward. We're not going to pay royalties to Rick Priestley. All of those guys have gone away. The last man standing is Jervis Johnson from the old days.
He's still there?
He's still there. It doesn't, and if I see him at a convention, I'm going to beat the crap out of him because I don't like a hit on twos thing in 40K. There's a thing that I don't like that happens in 40K, and I'm not going to talk about it on the show.
It'll be okay. Your autism will live.
But the underlying problem that GW has now is that they've also gotten rid of their old heavy metal team. They do not have an art department. No. So they asked all of these content creators to professional paint a miniature for them for their
A
showcase.
whole box set.
It was a single Primark that he had.
No, he painted.
In the video, if you watch the video,
He said he had to bring an entire box set in addition to the pole.
I didn't watch the full
but
video.
He didn't have enough time to paint the box set himself, so he had to commission. So he actually paid someone else to paint the box set that he
was talked about in this video how he painted Lionel Johnson for...
He painted that, but he also had to bring a painted box set too.
So they had to paint some miniatures for GW to be able to participate in this Warhammer thing. I did notice that Vince Vincerella showed up, but I didn't know he was a big name in painting. I really gotten away. I never really watched his channel, so I'm not going to talk any trash on him because there's no need to, because I know nothing about the man. I know that he exists. Vince Vincerella exists. Vince Vincerella got edu. He's there. That's what that means. They don't have an heavy metal team anymore. They're forcing the content creators that are favored content creators to basically do for GW.
Yeah, they're chattel.
They're basically chattel. Now, I don't know if his trip was comped.
I have heard that yes, the hotel and
the flight
was paid for, but they were not paid.
But they were not paid. Okay, so that's a pretty good bonus there. That you got a comp trip from them, but at the same time having to basically give, I don't know, 2.5 weeks of labor to them in order to go on the trip. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that if you're an American and they want to bring you, they need to pay for you. That's number one.
Yeah, they should have it.
Or they just tell the Americans to go and bleep themselves like they've always done, and they bring in the content creators from the UK,
which they could have done.
They could have done just as easy.
Yep.
And
and it's like how many times you gotta touch the stove to figure out that it's hot. Like this is par for the course for GW. Like let's be frank, they're known for going around copyright striking anybody that makes fan content for Warhammer.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like they do that. They don't give a fuck about the fans.
And well, it goes back to this. We don't want to pay royalties. So if you're an artist, like you do conceptual artwork for a living, like let's say you're Fernando Ruiz, GW commissions you, they want the rights to what you drew if they choose you. And if you don't want to work for the same 14 pounds per hour that Jervis Johnson is willing to work for, because like when Gab Thorpe left and went to Blizzard, he got like a $3 million retainer.
Oh yeah.
All right, he got big money. And, so the fact that they have, Jesus Christ.
You have a landline?
It's 80s phone. That's what I put on there.
Oh, that's your cell phone.
That's my cell phone.
I'm like, who the F has a landline?
I'm not moving to answer it, so we're just going to have to endure the 80s phone for a minute here. All right. So they don't want to pay anything to anybody. They don't want to owe anybody anything, and they don't want anybody to have rights to anything. But the only ones who are getting a pass are the Perrys for the Lord of the Rings line.
Lord of the Rings stuff.
And those apparently are the only ones that they're still paying royalties to, somewhat. For the last bastion of Empire miniatures that were sculpted, that goes on Perry, and they get their royalties for that. And so they want to own everything, and nobody who creates for them can have rights to anything. And if you're a favorite content producer or something, you should really just ignore them, because it's like I don't want to pile on Games Workshop. I would rather give them a break, but having to paint up a box set and a Primark and do all that work for them, just so they comp your trip, well, that's a little low. I always think that the YouTubers like the Miniac, they make it look glamorous. When he's sitting there with the airbrush, they make it look glamorous.
They will. Everyone who's actually done this hobby for any amount of time knows that it was a bitch.
No, it's work. And, what does that say, the Holy Diver one?
It's GW calling. He says you're now banned from their products.
They're banned from their products. Well, unfortunately for GW, I get most of my products secondhand off of eBay. No. Or I buy from, because... Well, I know that they have a thing in Tennessee, but it's like if I want something, I don't go to game stores anymore. I'll just get it from eBay.
Yeah.
If I want my aftershave, I get it from eBay. If I want my shaving cream, which I should buy tonight, I get it from eBay.
Long live 3D printers. Yep, and I hope to God 3D printers kills Games Workshop.
Well, you're not going to because they'll just become a publishing house like Marvel. We own the rights to this. We're Time Warner. We'll sue you into the.
And they have. They've already begun to do that.
They're beginning to do that a little bit, but they've gotten pushback for the biggest tournament in America, which is Las Vegas Open. You can show up with a full 3D printed army, and LVO officials call that art.
Yeah.
And we're not going to stand in the way of it, which I think is a good thing. But at the same time, I can see where GW is coming from. You know, I mean, they've always kind of. They're embracing their fans and then they're pushing their fans away. They're embracing their fans and they're pushing their fans away. Whereas if you ask me, the glory days for that company, me being the boomer that I am, were circa 1996 to 2005.
I knew you were
when you go to like some of the White Dwarf content and everything, and then again not
they had something magical and they pissed it away.
Well, they pissed it away for ownership. Yeah,
it's sad. Like. Gay of Sigmar is a fucking prime example of that. They killed fantasy, which was fan loved, because the miniatures were too small, because they couldn't make money off of it, and then they replaced it with Age of Sigmar.
That's not why it died. There's a lot that went into that.
I know I'm triggering you, but then they replaced it with Age of Sigmar, and you got the models. They're huge, and like, are they nicely produced? Absolutely, but they're atrocious looking. They're ugly. Like, I'm sorry.
Some of them are, yeah. I'll give it to you.
But they're like $500 for like one of these fucking 3-foot long ones.
No. If you, I can go buy a $500 model tomorrow, and I think I might. I'm gonna get a Knight of Castus for my Iron Warriors in 30K because I want to show off how rich I am to people. But in the game store, if I go back and be like, oh look, the peasants are playing their box, their plastic 30K. Meanwhile, I've got Forked World resin, bitch. No, but I'm not going to go into what killed fantasy. There's some laziness killed fantasy. That's all you need to know. Pure, simple, human beings. Not having the same quality that they did yesteryear, laziness killed it. Laziness killed it because it's too hard to paint 70 models. It's too hard to build 70
that's
models.
Why they went to...
And what was the number one seller? The number one seller was 40K. So how do we make fantasy more like 40K?
Okay.
Well, we bring in Age of Sigmar, all right? And that's kind of what did it. We'll make them play just the same. I got autism. I always hit on twos. My guys over here, they're going to run up, and then they got rid of the minutia part of the game, and they just made it play like 40K.
Age of Sigmar is when my friend quit. Yeah.
A lot of people quit. And they're going to bring fantasy back, and I wonder how many of these quitters are going to go back. Me, I'll give it a chance because I never really left because I have a closet.
You still have a fantasy.
I have plenty of. I have like 4 fantasy armies in that closet alone. So it's like I never really left. I did it because I love what fantasy was.
And I know that was your baby.
That was my baby for a long time.
Like, I know that was, it's still your baby.
But like, as far as like the Miniac getting booted out of a thing, well,
it's just hilarious because now he can't even use any of the content. So he went out there, can't use any of the content.
Yeah, you sign an NDA.
He's out all the money and time for the painted miniatures.
Right. Which I'm sure was on. I don't know what did it cost to fly to Greece.
It was like $1,200. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, okay. Because I know that my ticket, if I go to Japan, is going to cost me $3,000 because I'm flying business.
So, and yeah, we flew Comfort Plus. But
you know what? Okay, I got. Okay, I'm going to end one thing on this. I tried to upgrade to Comfort Plus from my flight to Tennessee back to here. All right, I swiped my credit card. I'm told by the guy I can't have a receipt. I'm like, well, I swiped my credit card. Can I at least get proof of maybe purchase? All right. So I get on the plane with no maybe receipt because he just basically told me to bleep off. No, I'm not getting a receipt. So I sit in there, and I'm noticing that there are 6 seats in Comfort Plus. I said, I swiped my credit card to the stewardess. Can I please be upgraded to Comfort Plus? Because I wanted a little more leg room, and I wanted an aisle seat. I had to beg for the aisle seat because sometimes I get a little airsick. And I might have to go scream bloody gore into the lavatory real quick, okay? So the hippo, this lumbering beast of a stewardess says, well, there are some people in front of you. So midway through the flight, all 6 of those Comfort Plus seats are still there. And I'm like, where are these people who were ahead of me for Comfort Plus? And she didn't have an answer. She basically aberrantly walked past me.
This is why we can't let you out in public.
And I had never been... and then I tell my family about this, about how like Delta treated me like shit. And the same week I get back, Bill Maher, the comedian, on HBO is bitching about how Delta treated him like shit. And this guy can afford to fly in first class.
Well, and he's like, no.
Or take a Concorde via Delta.
Yeah.
You know, and even they pissed him off in some way that he would.
But Delta's the
about.
best airline, though, right?
No.
Oh, by fucking far.
Well, no. Here's the way I see it. If I'm going anywhere to like Tennessee, Chicago, or in the Midwest, but I'm just going to get on the plane of Southwest, and I'm going to be an adult for 3 hours and fly.
If you're doing a non-stop destination, that is fine. But I'm going to tell you what: American Airlines constantly late. If you have connections, you might as well assume you're missing your connection. I will never fly American again. Okay. I don't fly anywhere that Southwest services. I mean, I only fly Delta.
I'll take a cheap flight. I'll take a cheap flight, and I'll be an adult, and I'll sit there for the 3 hours.
But I fly a lot, and I have a purple Delta card.
Oh, well,
so
I don't fly that often, but I mean, like getting to Chicago, flying to Denver, you take a Southwest flight to Denver, it's not going to kill you.
Yeah, if it's a non-stop. Yeah.
You'll get a non-stop, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing with GW. I know we went on.
Is that they will slap the hand that helps them. They'll hew the arm of the Miniac off, the arm that helps them.
And he has done nothing but slurp them happily for like the last 5 years.
I don't watch the guy.
I don't really watch him either. Like occasionally, his content's okay. He's not really a wargamer. Like he'll spend like 100 hours painting one miniature.
Yeah. That's what they do.
And that's what they do.
That's what artists do.
I get it.
But at the same time,
that's not a wargamer.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't have an entire painted army.
Oh, he does. I'm sure he does.
Maybe. Yeah. But like I know he was a commission painter, and he's really positive. His content's really positive.
It has to be.
Everything doesn't rock the boat.
Everything on if you're a content creator like him, everything has to be rated G for.
Yeah, and I get it. I get the game. But it's sad and hilarious at the same time that he's done nothing but promote GW.
And they believe him on.
They just took a giant steam.
They gave it. You know what they gave him? They gave him a suicide bomb. You know what that is? That's when they take a dump in your face and they hand you some pages of the Quran to clean it off with. That's what they give them.
Pretty much.
All right. Okay, so let's go. You go to the audience. We're going to wrap it up, and I hope you enjoyed the 20th Holy Diver show.
I think GW took a dump when they quit publishing DIY guides on terrain and conversions. Yeah, yes. They used to do things like that. They used to show you how to convert their products for, to make the army you wanted.
Well, they would also have DIY guides of like, we took this kit.
And now you can't even bring converted armies to official tournaments anymore.
No, you can. You can.
I heard if it's an official GW tournament.
Oh no, and this is what this. Okay, so what you're talking about is because you're kind of an outsider on that thing. Is because everybody talks about the rogue trader. And what people don't know in my area, they always talk, well, it's not Games Workshop sanctioned. You won't be able to take that to... And I just tell these idiots, bitch, I've got models that are older than you, and there hasn't been an official GW-sponsored tournament in my area, the Mountain States, for 20 years.
Yeah.
The last rogue trader in my state.
Well, they'll have them they'll have official GW tournaments in Vegas, right?
No, that's LVO. That's ITC.
Is LVO not official GW?
No, it's not official.
Oh, well,
the GW will show up and they'll put a booth up there.
Okay.
But they're not sponsoring the tournament. LVO is its own baby, and they're also trying to kick them in the teeth because they're letting 3D printed models into the tournament.
Well, good for them.
And good for them.
Good for them.
But at the same time, it's just... It made me lose my train of thought for a second. Everybody always talks about the GW sponsored tournament. Unless you live in the UK, and unless you, I've only been to 2 Rogue Traders, and those were damn near 20 years ago for me.
Wow, crazy. Here's a comment for you.
All right.
From SMC something. More folks would have played Fantasy had they balanced the armies and amended the rules like hardcore fans still playing have done.
Hardcore fans that have amended the rules and everything, it depends. I will say, if you were playing 7th edition, there were some armies that were king. Vampire counts and this is towards the end of 7th edition. Vampire counts were strong. It was a Gav Thorpe book, because Matt Ward decided to write a book called Demons, and this is where a lot of the beef comes from. And Demons had some broken BS rules. They were tough. In my opinion, at that time frame, they were really tough, but I was kind of an advanced player at that point in my career as a tournament guy in the local circuit around here, or going down to, God, what was it called? Dragon's Den or something like that, going out of county to play another tournament or something, or we would have some big tournaments where I lived back in the day. Demons were a very strong choice. Gav Thorpe basically said, screw you, I'll write rules the way I think I should be written. He got some death threats. Games Workshop had to finally let him go. Matt Ward, they let him go finally.
Damn.
And that was the end of Matt Ward. Gav Thorpe wrote the Dark Elves book, and he wrote the High Elves came out, the Dark Elves came out, and the Vampire accounts came out. And in order to fight demons, you had to be one of those 3 armies. But I think Bretonnians could fight them still and still do pretty well. But with me, I did pretty well with orcs and goblins. I had a spam army, so it was a little bit different. So as far as like balancing, you just had to... Yeah, I will say for 7th edition fantasy, you had to know how to use cavalry. And you had to know how to use it well.
Okay, something I know nothing about. Let's see here. 100% Scott is not a wargamer. Yeah, he's not. If you were in Holy Diver's basement, Holy Diver is a wargamer. He has fucking terrain. He has like 20 armies. He can paint more than 3 miniatures a month. Like that is a fucking wargamer.
In 5 weeks, I painted up. What is it? What's 80 times 4?
80 times 4, 320.
Yeah, 5 weeks I painted up 300.
That is what a wargamer does. And then, I can't paint quite as fast as Holy Diver. If I do 80 a month, that's pretty good for me.
And that was building, painting, and that was back when I did all my Greek videos about what was this kit, and I was sampling different things. And then when I was done, I went and bought a complete, total painted Spartan army for some reason. I had made the bid.
It's a great army though, and it's magnetized beautiful.
Oh, I know. I keep losing on this guy's auctions. Everybody always beats me.
Yeah, the gig's up on that guy.
The gig's up on that guy. And he's a UK chap, but he does good work.
Vitrix Miniatures makes some great looking Norman, Saxons, and Vikings. Yeah, and that's the thing, and I saw your comment earlier, Lord Brandon, about how you're 100% historical gamer now, and it's really hard because it's for $40 I can buy a 60-figure Vitrix set.
Yes.
What does $40 get me in war?
That'll get you a box of orcs.
There you go.
10.
Nice.
You get 10.
Great. 60. I can get 60 Vikings or 10 orcs.
And you know what the GW gamer will say to you? Well, good luck, because you'll never have anybody to play.
And it's kind of true, unless you find a friend.
Unless you find a friend.
Oh, God.
You're not going to have many of those.
Yeah, white
in Denver.
What? I'm moving to Grand Junction. It's on the border, you Neanderthal. I believe GW wants to be able to sell their IP.
That's another thing. Okay, before I close out, because now I've gone way over time. I've done a 2-hour show for the 20th show. Nobody's going to watch this ever. I hope somebody with some paint time is going to watch this. Okay, so they've been getting rid of the grim dark aspect of it. They have GWX rated, which is what everybody wants.
They're
sanitizing the content because Disney might make the buy. Hasbro. If Hasbro made the night and day, like the difference between Hasbro and GW is that Hasbro is a real company. Hasbro, if they want to make $1 million, they can make $1 million in 20 minutes. If GW wants to make $1 million, that's going to take them about 10 days. It's like when I can compare it to so let's say Hasbro comes out with box sets of G.I. Joes, and you get these 5 G.I. Joes with this vehicle, and you get these 5 Cobras with that vehicle, and they do 4 different sets, 4 different vehicles for each side. they're going to make $1 million flat in less than 30 seconds. All that shit's going to sell out. And even me, I would be on board. It's like, oh, we're re-releasing the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. It'll cost you, the USS flag will cost you $600.
I think, my friend had that.
Yeah, and okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So they sanitize the content. They sell it to Hasbro. They sanitize the content. Like, you can't have what Punisher did to Barracuda in Marvel.
Okay, we got some more comments here.
All right.
Wargame 341 says Trey Games makes triremes in 28mm. If that is true, I am fucking looking them up right now.
All right.
Thank you very much if that is the case. Lord Brennan, who makes Persian miniatures? How are you going to paint a huge force? I have already painted about 150, and I do not use contrast. I have just been traditionally painting, just like what Lily
I am going to start.
I did buy contrast paints for some horses. I haven't used them yet, but I'm gonna try them out.
I'm gonna try them out. I am gonna try it. I got
some too.
I got one.
I bought 3 browns for horses, and I'm gonna try them out on horses, but I haven't used them yet. Have you heard of Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings? Is that a rule set? Because no, I have not heard of it.
Yes, that is a rule set.
Oh, and you've heard of it?
Yeah, they have it over there in Godjo.
Really?
They're still charging full price for it.
Oh, Jesus. Is there 40K Magic the Gathering 4 deck coming out?
That's the... okay, so the Magic the Gathering thing. Games Workshop wants to set the game up to be like Magic the Gathering, which...
Okay.
Which will never happen. It'll never happen in a million years because people are lazy. So...
Yep.
On that note, does anybody have anything else that they want to say? I will delay it set a timer for 1:30 seconds there, and we'll just... we'll end the show. You know, I appreciate everybody who showed up. We already got 90 views. I'll take that, and 18 current watching. We
had good interaction with the crowd. I mean,
do we need to go up and take a look at anything else?
No, I think I read through most of it. I don't think I didn't miss too much.
I wanted to combine 2 shows, do something special for episode 20 because I'm probably not going to do anything special with the shows until episode 50 if I get to 50. But I am going to try maybe the Hangouts again. I have a lot of people who seem to like that, and I just don't know if I'm going to have the top-down camera on the painting table. I think it'll be easier for me to go with the web camera and just talk to you while I paint or something like that.
I'm trying to look up these flipping triremes. That's what I'm doing.
All right. Let's go back down.
Dude, they have Japanese ships. They have medieval Japanese ships. Look how cool that shit is. Oh yeah, I'll be damned.
Yeah,
I'll be damned. They got Viking ships, triremes. When? Okay. Well, there we go.
Good luck building that, though. Huh?
Unlike Holy Diver, I'm a modeler, and I can build a model kit.
I can't build a model kit to save my life.
Good Lord.
You know what my friend Anthony's going to do?
What?
He's probably going...
You built this thing?
No, I bought it that way.
Oh, good Lord.
I bought it that way.
You have some of those, you have some GW kits that come in like fucking 800 pieces, don't you?
Yeah, those Centurion Devastators,
yeah.
They're a bitch to build. My friend Anthony has to build my Chaos.
Oh,
I have to be like,
you
Dad,
source it out.
Dad, you're not my land
You're not a Sith Lord. You're a Padawan.
No, the Land Raider, fuck that kit. I am not fucking with a an old school Land Raider. I don't have enough hair dryer time.
Oh my God, you're eating
all right.
All right.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, DW caught the tail end of this. Oh, there's a 2-hour show. It's gonna be up, so
yep.
I'm glad you showed up anyway. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment after you leave, so that this thing will go up on the algorithmic suppression scale just a little bit. So
yeah.
I did not get the rise out of the fat watch thing.
Hey, Holy Diver's quit his day job, so make sure you give a thumbs up so he can
I am not
YouTube career.
I could probably do it if I didn't have a day job because you know who's really been going up and has got the subscriber base. I'm going to shout him out again. DM James, He makes stuff all the time, and I don't even have time to keep up with the guy.
No, he has so much shit.
So I'm shouting him out again.
$10,000 question before we leave.
What?
If you could be a professional miniature wargaming YouTuber, but you had to swallow GW, would you do it?
I would never have to swallow GW because they don't make historical games.
Okay, but you're only see, I'm 100% a historical gamer. You are only 50% a historical gamer.
Unlike you, I have friends that I've known for 20.
I know.
He's just like, hey, you need to trash the friendships that you've had for almost.
No, I'm not saying that.
years.
I'm not saying that. I'm not
Okay,
saying that.
okay.
I don't want you. No. I know you got a core group of guys you play Warhammer with, and that's great. I'm just saying you're not a 100% historical player. You're a 50-50.
I'm not 50-50. I'm just. We're in a crusade right now, and that's just the way it's going.
Spoken like a true Warhammer gamer.
That's just the way it's going. There are no pullouts, like you said. All right. I appreciate everybody for watching. As you know, YouTube has many features you can use to interact with me. You can like the video, dislike the video, comment, or subscribe. But until I see you again, thank you for watching. Thank you for playing, and stay metal, my friends. Kind of botched that one up. And we'll see you in the next stream.
In stream. Stop.